Hey guys, Squatch Reloading here. Today we're going to get started on our 10mm conversion over on our XL750. Right now my Dillon's set up on 9mm, so we're going to have to go through and strip everything off pertaining to 9 and put everything in that we need for our 10mm. So things we're going to need for sure. If you have another shell holder, or another tool holder, and that's the route you want to go, then pay attention here. If not, it's just a matter of changing out some dies. But we are lucky we have another tool holder and an extra powder measure, so we're going to need that. We're also going to need a 10mm 40 Smith & Wesson caliber conversion, and inside this there's bits and pieces that we need to switch over our case feeder as well. So we'll jump into that. And then also with our case feeder, we're going to need a large pistol plate to put up top there so everything sorts out good. So stick around and let's get started. Alright, so the first step of breaking down this 9mm setup here is the first thing I like to do is I'm going to take off the op rod. We will use that again. So basically it just slides out like so, and then we're going to put it to the side and move along. All right, now that we have our op rod out, we're going to go ahead and remove this tool holder. Now, if you don't have another tool holder, you can easily just insert new dies here, but we're going to go in, since I do have a new tool holder, we're going to go from removing this and installing a new one. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to pull out my powder cop shaft there, because I will reuse this on our next setup. And remove the tool holder is pretty simple. There's 2 pins. Make sure you set those aside or you will not lose them. And then this all slides out in one piece. So there we go. Now that we have everything apart here and we're kind of open, it's a good time to go ahead and get this case feeder swapped over. We're going to remove the main drop tube there and save that because we'll reuse it. We're going to pull out the green adapter, that's for 9mm. And then we're also going to remove the adapter that goes into the cartridge drop there. So now that we have those set aside, we're going to go ahead and remove the threaded adapter sleeve at the bottom. So I'm going to pan around here so you can see what we're doing. Okay, so to remove the cartridge sleeve, there is a hole that goes clear through, and usually a 9/64" Allen key works pretty good. And then you're just going to give it a quick turn, unthread it, and now that we're this far, I'm going to go ahead and reinstall the one for our 10mm, which is the medium, and it just threads up into the same spot. Now it's nice I've had some older ones where there wasn't a through hole and you'd have to get in there with a crescent wrench or not a crescent wrench but a channel lock or something and tighten it, but you just put your Allen key in there and just snug it up. That's all it takes. Alright, so in our 10mm 40 Smith conversion kit, you're going to get different sleeves for your case feeder setup and adapters. You're going to get purple and red. For 10mm, we're going to use the red. So the first thing we're going to do is put in our red adapter there, and then on these sleeves, if you can see this here, there's a detent right there. So we want to make sure that we line that up correctly on the housing, and then it should just slide right into place, just like so. Okay, now we can put our drop tube back on. Make sure that you have the chamfered end right here. Usually the sticker is on the chamfered end, it goes to the top. So I want to place one end down in our red adapter here, and then just snap it into our case feeder like so. Okay, so the next thing that we're going to change out is our case feed plate. And if you're sitting high on a bench with a strong mount, you might have to get a chair, but it's pretty simple. My head's hitting my light here. We're just going to reach in, pull out the small plate. You can see there's a slot here, and then there's a shaft with two corresponding pins that the plate slides into. So now we're going to take our large plate, if I can do this, slide it in and spin it until the pins lock into the slot there, and then we're good to go. And we're good. Okay guys, the last thing we need to change here is our feed chute, or I don't know what you call it, but it's a ramp that pushes the cartridge into the shell plate. And I see a lot of times guys will not install this, or they will put the wrong one in, but it's real easy. It just lays in there. And when you put in the one from the 10mm kit, you want to put it so that the mouth is towards the feed tube. So I'm going to try to do it from this angle so you guys can see how easy it goes in. Just slides in like so, and then we're good. Alright, so now we have to get this 9mm shell plate off of here. So the first thing we need to do is pull out these brass buttons for the 9mm. And now a couple things to remember. There's one real important detail here. Underneath your shell plate is a 9/64 set screw. So you want to make sure that you get that loose and backed out before you go untightening the main shaft here. So make sure that you, again, have this loose, but also make sure that you don't have it out far enough that it could cause some damage. But you want to make sure that's loose. So now the main shaft will back out pretty easy. It's not snugged down by any stretch of the imagination, but we're just spinning it out like so. We'll go ahead and remove it. And we're using a 1/4 inch Allen key. And then we're going to remove this wire spring here. And basically what this does is it guides the cartridge as it ejects. So now our shell plate is removed. So we'll set that aside. Now's a good chance to go ahead and take a Q-tip or something and just make sure that there's no debris in here, any powder or anything like that. Just make sure the surface is clean. And now we're going to go ahead and get our shell plate from our 10mm kit. So to put it on, it's just the reverse. It does have detent holes right here that match up with this detent ball. So to put it on, we're just sliding it in place. And what I like to do is try to catch one of the detent balls. It makes things go a lot easier. We're going to slide our main shaft bolt in, and we're just going to go ahead and give it a few turns, get it close, and now we're going to slide our cartridge eject pin, and there's a corresponding hole on the back side here that the end of that slides into. And now we're going to snug it up by hand. And that spring will just self-align over top. I'm going to try to do it where y'all can see it. But once we get that in place, now we have to deal with this slop in the shell plate. Alright, so to get this shell plate adjusted, we want to try to mitigate as much of the slop as we can. So I'm going to keep tightening up and making sure that I can still rotate. As you can see right there, it's too tight, so it won't rotate. So I'm going to just back it off a little bit. And it's hard to do here in the video, but we're going to make sure that that is still spinning as we're just barely turning the main shaft bolt. Now you're never going to get, now you can see how it froze up. You're never going to get all of the slop out. But once we get a good spot, I'm going to raise this all the way up, because what I want to do now that I have everything adjusted, I want to take my 9/64 and I want to get that set screw. and I want to get it snugged up. And just hand tight with the small end of the Allen wrench is fine. So as you can see, I have very minimal slop in the main shaft, and my shell plate is spinning freely. So to button this up, we're going to take our number 2 brass bushings here, and we'll put those all into place. And that's it. So now we've got our caliber conversion on our shell plate completed. Okay, last part of our changeover here, we're going to put in our tool holder. So we're just going to make sure that our powder knob is in the rear, and we're just going to slide it in the slots. Just like so. And remember these guys here, we don't want to lose these, so we're going to go ahead and put those in. And now we're ready to start setting up dies. Okay, so there it goes. We got all of our caliber conversion completed on our XL750 for our 10mm. We did our shell plate conversion. We've got all of our case feed components completed, including our large pistol plate. So in the next video, we're going to work on getting these dies set up, and then we're going to start running some high volume 10mm rounds based off the load development that we did prior in the series with our Accura Outdoors 180 grain projectiles or bullets. So guys, don't forget to check me out over on Facebook and Instagram at Swatch Reloading. All of our videos are on Utah Gun Exchange, Gunstreamer, and of course over at the Reloaders Network. So until next time guys, God bless.